Yeah. Yeah. So let's get started. And thank you for coming, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Today we have James from Memphis. He has a very good YouTube channel, and we are here to hear about his story. How are you, James?
Hey, I'm doing good. Really excited to
Yeah.
be here. Thanks for asking me to come on.
Yeah, and your likes, they look pretty good. Sorry, I don't have them.
Yeah, I've got those back there. We talked about this. Like you can kind
Yeah,
of change how bright they are and the color, and
yeah,
then I've got a couple of lights like actually on my desk pointing at me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So we haven't interacted that much because with a lot of people I have chatted for months
Hmm.
before doing this kind of interviews. In your case, I think we can save a little bit of time, so I can know a little bit more about yourself. So can you tell me, please, about your story? How did you become a developer? Wow,
Yeah.
why? Yeah, that's
Yeah, absolutely. So the why is really just an accident. When I got into college, I got accepted into college, and they asked for what major I was going to study, and I really had no idea. And I was in the engineering school, and I didn't want to do. I didn't really like sciences, like physics and chemistry and bio and that sort of stuff. So I just picked computer science. I literally had no idea what it was. I'd never seen any code. I'd never written any code before. And so in that sense, it was just kind of an accident. It was just kind of random that I got into computer science. So I started there, took classes like the traditional stuff in college, and kind of had like an eye-opening moment in my junior year where I borrowed a book from someone on how to create mobile apps for Android. And so I took that and I was following these tutorials, and I realized like I just wanted to create something that I was excited about. So I created a Harry Potter trivia app because I'm a big Harry Potter fan. And that was like one of the coolest learning experiences I've ever had, where I got to like not just do homework assignments in class, but also like use the stuff I was learning to create something that I was really excited about. And I graduated from college and got turned down for two jobs at Microsoft, but they liked me as a person for Microsoft, just not those jobs. And I ended up starting as a technical evangelist at Microsoft, and a lot of that is similar to what I'm doing now, creating content and doing guest lectures and speaking at conferences and that sort of stuff. So I did that for 3 years in Miami and New York City, and then started as a developer at FedEx. And I did that for about 3 years as a software developer and an architect. And then for almost the last year, I've been at Auth0, where I'm a developer advocate, again, creating content, doing stuff in the community, speaking at conferences, that sort of stuff.
so for me. It's really an honor to have you here, speaking now with me. Yeah. So, and for example, also me, I started my computer science degree almost by accident because I wanted to do
Oh, cool.
something. I was not that
Yeah.
really into coding. I get into coding after that. So we have already one thing in common. Yeah. So we are
Yeah,
here
very cool.
by mistake, basically.
Yeah. It's funny
We don't know
how
why
how it
we are
turns
here.
out. Yeah. And I had never done any web development stuff, which is what I really focus on now for the past 4 years. I'd never done anything with web development until I took a course on Udemy, the Web Developer Bootcamp by Colt Steele. And that literally changed my life in terms of a developer. So I like now I live and breathe JavaScript. I do JavaScript every day. I'm a web developer like every day. And that came from like, even though I had a degree in computer science, that came from me like self-learning, doing extra courses and YouTube videos and watching other people's content to try to learn how to break into a whole new field in web development.
Yeah. For example, for me, I did I think like 4 lessons of JavaScript
Hmm.
in the degree. So that's all
Okay.
the JavaScript I had from
Hmm.
the from my computer science. And I also failed my first JavaScript exam, so two even
Nice.
even that very good. But then I started by myself. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a
I think
totally
one of
different
the
story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that makes a big difference is the difference between like being required to do stuff in school, like required to read, required to do homework assignments, versus learning stuff because you're really excited about it and you care about it. And that's what I found in web development. Like the first time I was able to create a web page and actually see the result of the code that I wrote and be able to interact with it, that just kind of got me hooked. So from then on, I wasn't just learning because I had to, I was learning and building things because I was really excited about it and I really wanted to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. With this kind of activity, for almost all mental activities, it's hard to
Mhm.
be forced to do that.
Yep.
It's like studying something. If you're forced to do that,
It's not the
you're not
same.
you're
Yeah.
not really doing that. Yeah, yeah. And coding is even worse. Yeah, if you don't want to do that, it's very hard.
Mhm.
Maybe it's better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe it's better to go for a walk, go for a running. Maybe it's way better in that case.
Yep.
Yeah. So can you tell a little bit more about your public speaking experience? Because I'm really interested into that. I started, I think, like 1 month ago with
Mhm.
Danny Thompson invited me to an online speech, and it was
Awesome.
my very first experience as public speaker. I'd never
Yeah.
I never speak in English with
Mhm.
an audience before, so I'm like a kid in this field. Yeah. So can
That's
you tell us,
really
for example, your first experience and now the difference now? I don't know
sure.
if you still have that little bit of anxiety, if they
Mhm.
never go away, or you're more relaxed now, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, that's really cool that you were able to do that, especially with like having the additional concern of like it being your second language. Like I speak Spanish fairly well, and I've always thought about doing a presentation in Spanish, mainly to kind of see if I could. But I would be so nervous to do a presentation in Spanish because it's not something that I like speak in every day. But anyway, so I again kind of like lucked into this opportunity at Microsoft where I'd applied for the traditional like developer role and I didn't get that. And then 2 roles later, I got the technical evangelist role, and that was a lot of speaking. So I never considered myself like coming out of college. I never thought I wanted to be a speaker. I never thought I wanted to write articles and create videos. I never had any of that in mind. I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest. But I got kind of thrown into it, and that's what I had to do. So my very first presentation, my mentor was actually giving a talk at a conference, and he was kind of letting me like do a little portion of his presentation. And so I did like 5 or 10 minutes, and I was really kind of fumbling around, and he kind of like stepped in and like really saved me because I really wasn't doing very well. I wasn't prepared in terms of like how do I present this content. I just got up there and started talking, and I wasn't really prepared, to be honest. So I can say, like, in terms of nerves, I still get nervous for presentations, especially ones that are in person. I'm a little less nervous being virtual. It's a little bit easier. I still get nervous, but the difference for me is I like mentally I know that those nerves will only last for a minute or two, and then I'll kind of like settle in. I've done enough. Like I've probably given hundreds of talks or some really big number, and after you do it that much, you just start to know, like, all right, I'll be nervous. But then as soon as I get into my rhythm, as soon as I get into my flow, it will completely go away. So yeah, I'm definitely nervous before I start. The butterflies are there, the anxiety is there, but I know mentally it's going to be fine. All it takes is a minute. And as soon as I do that first joke or I have that first point where I see people like they really resonate with, they really agree with, they really are into what I'm saying, then it's totally fine from there on out.
Yeah, thank you. So there's no hope that a little bit of anxiety will go away, but I think it's a part of the game.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like being on stage. So yeah,
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
will last forever, I think. So I have just one talk, but yeah, so this will last forever.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah,
it's all about how you deal with it, and you just accept it, and you become more comfortable with it. And there are some specific things that you can actually do. Like there's breathing techniques that you can do. And like people talk about the Superman pose where you can like basically just stand really tall, and that kind of like mentally instills confidence in yourself. So there's some of those little tricks that you can do. But for the most part, it's just how you deal with it. You just accept it, know that it's a part of it, and then just kind of roll with it from there.
yeah, yeah. For example, for me, even doing this kind of video calls, I have this little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
also in this case, like 10 minutes ago, but I think that now they lasted like 1 minute, and that's all.
Hmm.
The first ones, they lasted for yeah more minutes. Yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, even with people that I've talked with for months, and so it's not about that. It's not about I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a little bit of anxiety will stay. Yeah, but yeah. So thank you. Yeah, and now I'd like to talk a little bit about I don't know your stack. Which technologies do you like to use mostly? I've seen some latest videos. I want to talk about your YouTube channel later, but
Hmm.
before I'd like to talk about which is your favorite one. What are you
Sure.
using now? And then I'll talk about yeah videos.
Yeah. I've actually got a video in my backlog to talk about that on the YouTube channel. But JavaScript everything. So I'm a JavaScript person, like front end to back end. I enjoy doing full stack development. I like having experience on both sides. Being able to create a full application myself is kind of what I enjoy being able to do, and that's changed a lot. Like I started with that course that I mentioned. Um, it wasn't quite MERN stack because it wasn't React. It was just using a templating language, but it was Node and Express and Mongo. And that was something that I kind of stuck with for a couple of years. And then came this idea of the Jamstack. And Jamstack, Jam stands for JavaScript APIs and Markup. And it's not really new technologies individually. Like we've had JavaScript, we've called APIs, and we've had Markup, we've had our HTML and that sort of stuff. So that like individually those things aren't new, but Jamstack is all about how you put them together and to really really bring power to developers, especially front end developers, because you don't necessarily have to do all the things that you used to with like managing and deploying and updating servers and that sort of stuff. Jamstack is really about making all of that process as simple as possible. So a lot of the things that I've been doing there, like my personal site uses Gatsby. So I do a lot of React. So Gatsby is my personal site. It uses serverless functions in Netlify, actually just one, but a serverless function for doing contact. So when you send an email or you try to contact me, it will go to the serverless function, which will then email me. And it uses Sanity IO as my headless CMS. So that's where I store all of the information for the streams that I do, all of the blog articles that I write, all of that stuff is stored inside of Sanity IO. And then recently, I've really started to like and do a lot of content around Next.js as kind of a competitive framework, competitor to Gatsby. But Next.js just seems to be able to do everything. So Gatsby is not just static content; it's not just for creating static websites, but that's kind of what it's been known for. Next.js kind of started on the opposite, where it was really more about server-side rendered stuff, but it also has really powerful tools for static content. So in my mind, Next.js can literally do everything, and it's a little more streamlined to go that way and use it for building full stack applications. So I've really loved doing that. Been using Next.js a lot recently. I've used Tailwind CSS for styling, which has been a lot of fun. I've used FaunaDB and Airtable as some of my data sources. Cloudinary for images, just getting to explore with a lot of these different cool technologies and figure out in the Jamstack how to put them together to build sites.
Yeah, so you like to explore everything, a lot of stuff, because you have made to me. Yeah, and I also like this style, but I think in your case, you're exploring kind of a lot, and also you are putting a lot of videos out. So I don't know if you have 1,000, because can we talk about a little bit about your YouTube channel, because I like that. I think that I was watching your tutorials like years ago, so maybe having you here now, it's a bit strange for me, but so I'm happy about that. So I'd like to hear maybe a little bit about the story of your YouTube channel. So for example, the first video, what are you doing now? What's the future plan?
So similar to getting into computer science, similar to getting into speaking, I didn't start creating videos with the goal of having a YouTube channel. Like I never saw that as like something that I would really intentionally grow or build on.
Yeah, me neither. So we have this kind of similar things that we do random stuff, and sometimes it goes well.
And I think that kind of goes to show, like, if you put yourself out there and try different things, like some stuff's going to be beneficial that you never imagined. But as part of my job at Microsoft, I was doing a lot of workshops, and I specifically did a lot of workshops with students, so either high school and university students. And I used this tool called Construct 2 at the time. It's now Construct 3. And it's a drag and drop tool for building games. And it's really, really cool because students with no computer science background, no programming background, could get into this tool and start to create an actual game that they could play. And they're learning programming concepts without even realizing. Subconsciously, they're like learning how to program because you're putting these different steps together. And there's all the basic stuff of programming. There's if loops, for loops, there's classes and instance objects and properties of objects, like all those things. I've always said I could teach at like a one-on-one class using this tool. But I would do these workshops and I would give like a 30-minute, like, here's how you can do some of the stuff, and then kind of let people go and say, all right, now go and like try to build something yourself. And I realized as I would do that, people would have the same questions. So like as we would break out that, hey, how can I do this? Hey, how can I do this? How can I do this? And I realized like, why don't I just create a video or a series of videos where people can go and watch? Here's how you do those things. That way, if I've got 30 people in this group, I don't have time to go and answer every single person. I can send people to a video or a series of videos for them to go and see that thing. And that's what really started the YouTube channel, was me just creating, I think it was like a 16-part series, which was kind of a lot for my first thing, but a 16-part series on building games with Construct 2, so that when I did this workshop, I could say, hey, if you have questions, go and watch these videos first. And that those did like relatively well. I didn't have any vision of a
Yeah.
longer term YouTube
More,
channel. I didn't
yeah,
have
more than
Mhm.
30 views, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They did relatively well. So then I did a few more videos throughout the course of my career at Microsoft, trying different things. And again, didn't was just doing stuff. I didn't have like a big vision, and it wasn't until 2.5, 3 years ago now. So I took a couple of years off of not doing anything on YouTube, and I realized that like I wanted to get back into creating content. I wanted to be back into doing that sort of thing, and I started to take YouTube a lot more seriously. I started being consistent with my YouTube videos. I started doing stuff on JavaScript, like a complete switch from what I'd done before. And the stuff that I was excited about, the stuff that I wanted to learn, you talked about like exploring different technologies. Like that's a great way to create video content, is trying out these new technologies and then creating videos around them. So for the past couple of years, I've done a video almost every week. I've gotten to learn a ton about different technologies. I've gotten to try things out. And I've also learned a lot about just how to do YouTube videos and how to market them and how to optimize them. And one of the groups that we're in is really helpful for that, because we get to hear advice from people that are much bigger than me. They may not have done it as long as me, but they've grown a lot faster. So it's really cool to like learn from people that are in different stages of their YouTube growth and careers, and be able to take that stuff to hopefully like continuously improve our channels individually.
Yeah, and for example, for me, I'm still really like a child, because I started like 3 months ago.
Mhm.
I'm here. I don't know really what I'm doing, which keywords to use. All this optimization for me is totally something that then I need total to understand this sort of things. And I do that. So little by little, I think, because there are so
Yeah.
many things to know, to test. Yeah, but yeah, and I like your mindset to try things, to just not focus on one thing. Is it sometimes difficult to focus on multiple things? Because I also like to test a lot of things, but sometimes I have the opposite problem, that I see too many technologies at once, and
Mhm.
I stop for a while and say they are too many, and I start removing something. I don't know if this happens also to you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I really try to just focus on the stuff that I enjoy. Like people talked about React for several years before I ever tried out React. And then after a couple of years of hearing about it, I watched a couple of YouTube videos. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I took a course on Udemy from Andrew Mead, which is a great course, by the way. And that was really the start of my React development. Again, I was like, I had heard about it for several years, but I just wasn't ready for it personally. So I just try to go on like what seems the most interesting to me, and when I have time. Like I don't force myself to go and learn a new thing every week. I don't put a lot of rules around the content that I create, other than just trying to be consistent. And so that means like with having a decent amount of experience at this point, if I don't have the time to learn something new, I can record a video in 30 minutes on something that I'm already familiar with, and I don't have to spend a lot of time. I can still maintain that consistency, but I don't have to spend a lot of time trying to learn something new. So I do spend a lot of time learning, and that's just because I enjoy it. I don't try to force myself. I don't feel like I need to like keep up with anyone else. But at the same time, like if I hear people talking about a technology like Next.js, and they say it's amazing, and they've talked about it over and over again, that's kind of a light bulb in my mind that, hey, I might want to go try this thing out and see what I think. And that has led to me adopting some really cool technologies that I love to use every day.
Yeah, and this is also what happens to me, that, for example, by doing this kind of interviews, for example, I had some different technologies, and now they are all inside my mind. So sometimes
Mhm.
I think about them, and I think that I'll start something new now, because, for example, in my case, I like the JavaScript and the DevOps part also. I like it a lot,
Mhm.
like Docker or something like that. It's something that interesting a lot to me. But I keep hearing, for example, about Vue.js, Nest.js, Tailwind. So now you are brainstorming my mind because and sometimes it's hard because, for example, if you want to create content, also to watch content, it's hard. In the meanwhile, we also have lives, family. I don't know in your case, but it's hard. Sure. Yeah, I always say that we should have at least three lives: one to watch content, one to create content, and one to the other
For
stuff.
your regular life, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard for me because I have so many friends, also you now, but it's hard to watch all your content, all the content of other people. It's something impossible. You should stop creating content to watch content.
Yeah, it is, and it's cool because now, like, our group is so connected, that I think we're all really supportive of each other. And even though I have the same problem, like I wish I had more time to watch more videos from other people, but especially when I do have the time to watch a video, like leaving a like, leaving a comment just to show the support, and lots of people do that on mine too, just to say like, hey, I showed up here to check out your stuff and keep up the good work. Like that stuff means a lot, and I think it's really encouraging for each of us individually to see that sort of interaction from other content creators that are doing the same stuff.
Yeah, let me tell you one thing. Since I started creating my YouTube channel, now I put way more likes on videos because now I understand the effort. Before, this was not really my problem. Now when I go, for example, on an Adrian video, soon I'll do the same with your videos. But maybe if you create videos, you understand. If you see maybe some very good introduction, some change of camera, something very well explained, yeah, by doing this you really understand. So please leave a like on this video. This was actually
likes and comments below.
Yeah, but for example, in my case, I still need to get used to say this because it's something that is a bit strange for me. I usually don't say that. I'm just joking now. Yeah. So you've been on YouTube for 7 years. Yeah, 7 years is a lot. Yeah,
it's been a while, and it's been through different phases. Like I said, I didn't really start off with a purpose. I just was kind of doing some stuff, and then I didn't do anything for a couple of years, and then after I started back a few years ago, I started to really kind of have a better idea of like what I wanted to accomplish, what kind of content I wanted to create, how to maintain consistency, that sort of stuff. And I feel like even more so in the last like 6 months, I've really, in terms of growth of my channel, the last 6 months, I've doubled, almost tripled my subscribers probably. And that's from like learning from being a part of that group that we're in, learning some different things to try out. And then, leveraging the impact that that's had. And it's been really cool to see, like now that I'm even more intentional and I have a better idea of how to do these different things, now I'm starting to see that growth. And that's a lot of fun to kind of see for yourself, to see that people are actually responding to the content that you create and put out there.
Yeah, now I think I can understand maybe a little bit how you feel because there is a lot of effort behind. Yeah, And now please let me tell you that I love your bloopers, the pics that you post. Maybe who is already following you, they know about that. If you want, we can talk about that 5 minutes because I really love that. So, and why are you doing this? This is just for fun. For example, I don't know. Yeah, I've been following you for I think some months now. I don't know when did you start making this kind of
just recently in the last couple of months, I think, and I'm going to continue to do that more and more. But I think the important thing is, like, from a consumer perspective, like if you watch someone's video, you expect whatever topic they're talking about, you just naturally expect them to actually be an expert on that topic. And you expect them to, like, you look at them, and lots of people feel imposter syndrome because they see other people and they write code and it works perfectly, right? Because it's an edited video. But people who are not on the content creation side don't understand that there's actually a lot of time that goes into fixing those errors. So I wanted to help bring awareness to the fact that like I'm just a developer like everyone else. Like I'm actually teaching a boot camp right now, and in that boot camp, which is twice a week at nights, they get to see me live code, and they get to see what it's like for me to like miss a bracket and misspell a variable name. They get to see those things that you don't see as much inside of the actual finished YouTube video. So sometimes I'll leave in some of those bugs, and sometimes that's intentional. But the goal of YouTube is to be more streamlined, is to show people like, hey, here's how you do this thing quickly. And they don't necessarily want to see all of those, all the unedited time that it takes for you to create that. So I wanted to kind of raise some exposure to that, just to be a little more relatable, just to show that like, hey, when I record a video, it's not just like, oh, I turn on the camera, I do it, and I'm done. Like it's I try to do those intros for like 2 minutes, and I get like a 15-second intro after like stumbling for 2 minutes. And I like being able to show that for people. I think it's a way for them to see kind of what it's really like behind the scenes. The little like freeze frame pictures are just like, I just happen to press pause as I'm editing, and then I see the image and I just take it. And it honestly, it's kind of like, some of them are pretty embarrassing. Like the last one I created, it looks like, just based on lighting, and I was having like some issues with my eye, like it looks like I'm in jail, and it's like a mugshot. It's a really bad picture, but people had a lot of fun with it. And so it's a way to like be a little vulnerable, put stuff out there that makes you a little nervous about yourself, but also to learn to just be comfortable with yourself. Like we're all people, we're all developers. We're none of us are perfect. And so I think it's a way to just kind of relate to people and have them relate to me a little bit.
Yeah, and I honestly think that by watching your funny pics, maybe, yeah, the people watching that, they feel a little bit like you are a human being, like we are
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
we are proving right now. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that in some cases they can also help to some people to, for example, to get started making videos. This is, for example, one of my aims lately on Twitter. I'm trying to help people to do maybe some small videos because, for example, in
Mhm.
my case, it was very hard in the beginning. Once you get started with that, you can choose if you want to create a YouTube channel, just post a video for yourself, your friends. But for example, in my case, it was really a problem. So by seeing someone else, also, I hope also watching my whole bad videos. Okay, they are still bad, but okay. But yeah, this is something that I really want to do because yeah, and also there was a Traversy Media would say maybe that every developer should have a YouTube channel. Also
Mhm.
said that. Yeah,
There's lots of things that you learn from doing a YouTube channel, and lots of benefits. So selfishly, I created and published a YouTube for Developers ebook, so YouTubeforDevelopers.com. But
yes.
a lot of what I talk about in there is like, why should you start a YouTube channel? And there's so many different reasons. Like if we talked about this earlier, like I use my YouTube channel as a way to learn. It gives me a reason to go and learn new technologies and then document that process. So there's like learning new technical things. There's also like learning a little bit more creative side, that's not programming related, but like recording video and editing video and getting into marketing and learning about SEO and that sort of stuff. Like there's so much of that stuff that I've learned, but also have so much more to continue to learn. And then lastly, anytime you can teach other people technical concepts in a way that they can understand, that's a really hard skill to find. And that's a really valuable skill for people to hire for. So if you think about like having a portfolio, well, like YouTube is my portfolio at this point. Like I've proven that I can speak to people. I've proven that I can maintain consistency. I've proven that I know my technical stuff. And I can prove that in like 200 different videos that are on my YouTube channel. So like that is my portfolio going forward, and it can be other people's portfolios as well. Because at the end of the day, if you submit a resume and it says you're a hard worker and it says you're a good speaker and a strong communicator, like those are just words. They don't mean anything. They're just words. But if you have a YouTube channel, or if you have a blog, or if you have tangible things that people can go and see, oh, that person actually knows how to do these things, that's much more valuable than just having those words on the resume.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with this. Yeah, it's a proof. Yeah, you can just send your link instead of just I don't know.
Mhm.
Sometimes they are a bit empty words, like yeah, like public speaker. Maybe I could do this like public speaker. And I just did one speech, so
Mhm. But that also
Yeah.
still counts. Like you've done it, and a lot of people haven't done it, right? So you are a public speaker because you've done it, and like it's a little bit different. But doing YouTube videos is public speaking too. Like you're still speaking in a way that other people across the world are going to be able to see, and that takes like being a little bit vulnerable, because that's a lot of what people are scared of, is negative comments potentially. And the good thing is, like, most of the comments on YouTube are pretty positive. Like I've certainly had some ridiculous comments, and I either ignore them or give a funny response to them, because like those people don't really matter to me. But for the most part, it's been super supportive. So if the more that I can encourage people to just record that first video and publish it, like you'll probably find out it's not near as bad as you think, and maybe you want to continue to do more of it.
Yeah. I think that I'm not that famous enough to get that really bad comment. I had some bad. Yeah, for example, I still remember my first dislike on my videos. My video,
Mhm.
I was so happy. So I say, oh, finally, my YouTube channel can really start.
And
Yeah.
it's all uphill from there in a good
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for this. Yeah, I need to watch that YouTube video. So thanks for remembering this.
Yeah,
I watched this after our call.
cool.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah. I'll do this for sure. Yeah. So thank you. And what's your experience with socials? Do you use, for example, just Twitter? Because I think we have interacted just a little bit on
Hmm.
Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah, and do you use something else? Which
Yeah,
one do you use?
mostly Twitter. So that's where I get most of my developer engagement stuff there. And I've started to be a little more intentional about how I use Twitter, and being more consistent on Twitter, and focusing a little bit on trying to grow a little bit, but mainly just like sharing things that are on my mind, sharing things that I've learned, sharing things that I've created, sharing things that I think will be valuable for people. And then also just being part of conversations with people, like as they post stuff, having a conversation with them, commenting on their stuff. So most of social interaction is on Twitter. I think I want to start to get more consistent on Instagram, to just post a couple of images a week of kind of what I'm doing, whether it's content creation or like walking the dog or doing yoga or something. I want to do that a little more often too. So I don't have very specific goals there, but I do want to get a couple times a week of just posting a new image, something related to all the stuff that we do, just because I think that's a fun place to engage and share stuff as well.
Yeah, and of course I'll follow you on Instagram. We'll put all the links in the description. Yeah, now I'm
Yeah.
getting better at saying this. Yeah, yeah. And so you started your Twitter account after your YouTube channel. In your case.
It was actually first.
Mm.
Again, like I started my job at Microsoft, and they said, "Hey, you should probably have a Twitter." And I created a Twitter, and I had no goals. I wasn't consistent. I was just kind of there. And it wasn't until the last couple of years that I really started to use Twitter for what it is, to leverage it for the developer audience, to follow the right people, to engage with the right people. And now, like, I say this a lot, like, instead of posting a question on Stack Overflow, most likely I'll post a question on Twitter, because I'm connected to people in the technologies that are what I'm working on. And those are the people who can help answer questions. So I spend like a lot of my time in Twitter for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think I downloaded Twitter in 2009.
Mm.
I've done like 20 tweets in like
Hmm.
10 years, something like
Hmm.
that. And then yeah, this year in January I started creating using Twitter in a proper way. And then when the pandemic started, then I've been in lockdown for 2 months. It was a really good, really good in my case, because
There
I
are,
saved a lot
yeah.
of time. I had like a 3 hours commitment every day, 100 kilometers per day, the job. So yeah, the time was used basically to grow on Twitter. So
Hmm.
then it was basically my secret. Yeah, and for example, I've grown a little bit on Twitter, then I moved on YouTube. But I think that I think that also by having these kind of videos, I think that people maybe they know you a little bit more. You can maybe relax just a little bit on Twitter, because before, for example, I was so really super professional on Twitter.
Hmm.
So to use it, so now I'm using both of them, and now yeah, so I'm fine with that now. So
Hmm.
yeah, kind of similar. Yeah. So and yeah, I think I had like 10. 10 followers on Instagram on August. Now we have 2K now, but yeah.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, because basically I said on Twitter, now I'm using my Instagram account.
Instagram,
So
and then drive people over there. That's cool.
yeah, and I think that it's better, in my opinion, to have just one social in the beginning if you're not a super expert, and then move on. For example, if in my case, if I had just started everything at the same time, it's been so too much hard.
Too much.
I think.
Yeah. That's what I because I kind of thought about doing some more Instagram stuff, and I just really just kind of told myself no the last couple of months to really focus on being consistent on Twitter. Now that I'm more comfortable being consistent there, now I want to add some consistency on Instagram, and so we'll see how that goes over the next couple of months.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, and I always say that the Twitter algorithm is really a beast that must be fed every day, every 6 hours. Otherwise, it starts
fall behind.
It starts hating you. your super professional post does not get shown another timelines. Yeah, that's it. So it's a little bit love and hate relationship in Twitter. Yeah, so thank you so much. Do you have other plans for the future or not? Because for what you say, that you don't plan so much, but I want to know about that, if you have something in your mind.
I don't know yet, to be honest. Like my ultimate long-term goal, if I could do content for myself full time, that's maybe what my easiest long-term goal is. But specifically for this upcoming year, like I was talking to my wife about this, I don't know exactly what my goals are. Part of it's just like growth on YouTube, and I've fallen into a little bit of like monotony. Like I could continue to create the same kind of posts or same sort of videos that I've been creating, and I've got that down to where I can do that. But I really want to start thinking a little more deeper of like, if I grow, why am I growing? Like how does that benefit me? What do I want to use that growth for? And if I want to specialize in certain technologies, why? How does that help me? What do I do with that? So I'm starting to be, some of it's a little just kind of like, kind of meta, just thinking about like, what's the purpose of all this? But some of it's just trying to be more strategic for like in this next year, now that I know a lot more than I did a year ago, how do I use it? And what do I use it for? And what does that mean for me? So I don't really know, to be honest. Like I had a conversation with my wife over lunch the other day, and we talked for a while and had some ideas, but I'm figuring that out. So we'll see. We'll see what this next year looks like for me. But hopefully, a lot of it is just maintaining that consistency. Hopefully, getting a little more creative with the content that I create, and then continue to grow and provide value to people wherever they follow the content that I do.
Yeah, and I think that it's sometimes it's a little bit hard, for example, to put some goals when you use socials, for example, YouTube or even Twitter. I had this idea. I had to reach, I think, 12,000 followers on Twitter in January. Now I almost doubled that. On YouTube, I had this idea to just post one video. Now I post like 51. So sometimes sometimes it's hard. You have one goal, or maybe you have other goals. So sometimes it's hard because sometimes a little thing can have a huge impact. Maybe you know that about, for example, YouTube channels, also your Twitter accounts. So we never know. I think what we can do is just work constantly every day. I'm doing this crazy challenge. I don't know if you have watched something about that. I'm doing this kind of video once per day. Now, sometimes I'm getting something, for example, now, but I'm just on the 25th day. I think that if you work hard, it pays off in the end. I hope so.
Yeah.
I also wish you luck with your YouTube channel. I need to watch some videos now. I get some likes, of course. Don't worry. I'll try to comment that. It was really a pleasure to have you here. Yeah, and of course, and don't worry, I'll make you a super thumbnail about this video. You look perfect. Don't worry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you, James. Do you last thing? Do you want to say something? For example, there's a play. For example, to some new developers, they want to the ones that want to create some YouTube channels. They don't have an idea. They're almost there, but they don't want to push that upload button on YouTube. Maybe they have already a little, maybe not the best video in the world, but it's a video about coding. Maybe just themselves, they recorded themselves. They are a little bit afraid of some judgment. Can we help them?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just do it. Just submit it. It's not like there's no way it's going to be as bad as you think it is, to be honest. And you're like Danny Thompson says this kind of stuff a lot, where like if you, the only thing you know that happens if you stop learning or stop trying or don't upload a video is that it's never going to happen. You might be nervous about some sort of reaction, but you're never going to have a shot at doing YouTube or doing a YouTube video if you don't publish the first one. So just publish the first one. Everyone's first video is drastically different than after they've been doing it for several years. My stuff is drastically different, and that's what I would encourage people to do, is don't spend too much time trying to figure out how to make it perfect. Don't spend too much time editing. Don't spend too much time trying to buy lights and too much money doing that sort of stuff. Like, just start with what you have, create a video, and then see what it's like. And then over the course of, in my case, 7 years, like now I have a lot of equipment. Now I have the ability to create videos like pretty quickly and enjoy them. But it didn't start out that way, right? Like, it was drastically different 7 years ago. So it's a process for everyone. So just whatever that first video is, just hit publish and see what happens, and then go from there.
Yeah. For example, in my case, I published a running video. So it was neither a coding video. I was just something totally different, but it was just about me. The video starts with me taking coffee and they putting the shows on. Yeah. So it's something really different about coding. But I just did that because I felt the need to publish a video. So I started with like that. I probably would not be here now if I had not published that video in August. So yeah. So I think that even if maybe you are a coder or developer, maybe if you just publish a video, then you can also move on and then find your way. And also, by another thing that I say is sometimes that if you already have a YouTube channel already set, it's easier to start, for example, something new. Like, for example, I did in my case, I did this video call with Adrian Twarg, then I did another one. But if I had never if I had not this YouTube channel set, I probably would not have done this. So just to be ready. Then I think that one JavaScript framework will be released, so we will be the first one. So you can be ready to do that. So this is also what I usually suggest. Thank you, because you have a very great experience in YouTube and public speaking. So having you here has been really an honor for me.
Well, I'm glad. Well, I'm glad you had me on. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. So thank you again, James. See you on Twitter. Please follow him, subscribe to his YouTube channel, follow him on Twitter, and follow him on his Instagram account. Okay.
Thanks for the shout out there.
Okay. Thank you, James. Bye bye.
See ya.
Bye bye. So.